Today, I wanted to talk about a few ways that I am trying to save money on gardening this year. And I want to expand our corn patch because last year I grew it for the first time and I had so much fun doing it. And it was just so delicious. And I want to grow more corn this year. Today I went to a bulk compost facility and I purchased a half yard of compost, and it was only $10, and this soil was certified organic. So I think it's good. I don't know a ton about soil, but I think it's a decent quality soil. And last year when I started all of my beds over by the deck, I went to Home Depot and I just purchased the bag soil, and I spent around $300 on the bag to compost. So, and today I'm also just, instead of putting it on this entire rectangle, I am just putting it directly in rows where I'm planning to plant. That way I can save on time and on compost that I need to purchase. And I hope that it works. I think that it will. Last year, I also went to the garden center and I bought plant starts for my pumpkins, cucumbers, and melons. And each time I went, which was about 3 times, I spent about $40 on these plant starts because they're about like $5 or $6 each. And the first time I planted it, it got eaten by like slugs or snails. And then I went back to the garden center and I spent another $40 on the same plants. And then I planted them and then they would get eaten by birds. And then I got cages to put on top of them from Gardener's Supply. And the cages are really pretty and they're really cute. But the birds actually went through the little holes. I saw a couple little birds go through there and like pick the plants out. And I think a squirrel knocked one over. And I spent about $120 on plant starts that were ultimately just eaten. And I kind of got fed up with it, and I just ended up buying some seeds and then placing it on a pile of compost that I stuck in this area last year. And that is what created our beautiful pumpkin patch. And it was a huge success and it worked really well. So this year I'm attempting to do the same thing with corn. And I spent about $2 per pack, and I bought about 6 different varieties. So I only spent about $12 on seeds. So if this works out, which I'm hoping that it will, I would have saved a lot of money on plant starts. I didn't realize how much I was going to enjoy gardening when we moved here, and I was just playing around with a few things. And something that I realized is that gardening actually is quite a bit of a workout. I mean, just even walking from bed to bed each day and checking on my plants gets a lot of steps. And I used to go to the gym and spend money on a membership or go to workout classes, and now I realize that I get enough exercise just doing stuff like this. This only took me about 30 minutes to move all of this compost, and it was fun. I was outdoors. So I used to spend around $150 or $200 a month on workout classes or a gym membership, and now I just allocate those dollars to gardening supplies or compost or seeds or plants. Here I'm planting blue corn and sweet corn, but I realized that I don't have enough seeds. So I went and I bought about 4 more packs, which are in the mail. So once they get here, I'm gonna go ahead and plant those. But this is what I'm starting with. I also realized how quickly purchasing gardening supplies can add up. But from the seed trays that you buy to the grow lights and the little plant tags and the netting and supports, all these things really add up when you garden. And then I realized that I needed more of these after I had already kind of invested in a few different gardening things. So what I started doing this year when I started doing the soil blocks is I use little to-go containers that I had at my house, and I felt like they worked really good. So this year, what I am attempting to do is I use the little to-go containers to protect my seeds, my pumpkin seeds and my melon seeds that we planted on this hill about a week ago. And I thought that it could kind of work like a humidity dome would when you start seeds, and maybe also even help with the pest control. So I thought it would help with like the slugs and the snails and the birds while also keeping this area warm because it has been a chillier year this year. So the temperatures are only about, I don't know, in the 50s in the evenings and then in the low 70s. So I feel like it's a little colder than usual here. And I know that these plants like hotter weather. So, and then I know that seeds germinate better with like a humidity dome or a heat mat. So I wanted to kind of imitate that outside. So I used these little to-go containers to cover my seeds. And Fuji and I are checking, and there's a little sprout right there. And over here, this is our Jardel pumpkin that we planted. This is like a really pretty blue pumpkin, and there's a little plant in there. There's a quite a big plant in there actually, but I put some staples down. There's a Kajari melon. There's a snail in there, so I don't know how well this is working against snails. But there's a little sprout right there to the right. And I am really excited about our potential pumpkins that we might have here soon.
So I just picked up some compost at El Corazon Compost in Oceanside, and I'm going to Lowe's to see if I can find some plants to, anything that I couldn't start from seed myself, I want to purchase at this point and get planting before the summer comes. So I'm going to try, what's on my list is I'm going to try and find some herbs like oregano and thyme and sage because I wasn't able to start those. And then if I can find some cute like red, white, and blue petunias on sale because it's kind of past the prime time of when the petunias came out. I think that would be really cool to plant on our front hill because across the street from our house there's 4th of July fireworks, and and people will park on the street and then walk to the park for the fireworks. And I thought if that hill was like dotted with red, white, and blue, it would be cool, like if they wanted to take a picture or something like that. I've always wanted to do like a big American flag. That was kind of like my goal, but like then goals versus like what I'm actually able to do are different. So I'm just gonna, if I can find a good deal on them, then I'll buy some of those, and then I'll probably splurge and have some impulse buys as well.
So in this season of my gardening journey, I am telling myself when I go to the garden center what I don't need and what I do need. So I think these star jasmines are very beautiful, but I don't need them right now because I am focusing on summer crops that only have a short season to grow and need the heat. And I've been preparing and kind of planning for like tomatoes and cucumbers and pumpkins and eggplants. So although these are so tempting and I want to buy a bunch of them, I'm telling myself I don't need this. And if I do see something that I really like, I just take a video or I take a picture, and then I'll compare it with prices at another garden center. And if maybe I can find a better deal at another place, then maybe I will splurge and get it. But I also tell myself that if I buy any of these plants, I also have to take care of them and I have to find a home for them. I have to dig a hole, I have to either hand water them or put drip to them. Maybe they need fertilizer. Maybe they're going to get really big and I'm going to have to prune them. So at this point, I'm telling myself before I adopt any of these, I want to make sure that I know where they're going to go and that they're going to be taken care of. And when I look at these plants over here, although they're beautiful and they're blooming, I know that I can start them from seed next year, and I tried my hardest to start seeds this year, and I'm gonna just work on what I've got right now. And these hanging baskets are very tempting. I really want some hanging baskets for my front porch, but they're $44.98, and I'm gonna need two of them. So that's like almost $100 just on hanging baskets, and then I'm gonna have to hand water them, and they're gonna be difficult to water because they're hanging, unless I install some drip to it. So I'm telling myself that no. And these petunias are beautiful too, but they're not on sale. So I'll just wait until I can find some that are on sale, because although I want them, my number one goal is to grow the food that I can't grow in the winter months. And in regards to seed starting, I was really unsure if it was worth it, because although you will save money on plant starts, there is a learning curve to learning how to start seeds. So you do, if you start them outside, you'll need, something to grow them in, but you can find recycled materials. You don't have to buy seed trays, or if you use grow lights, that's also an expense. And I can honestly say that last year, seed starting did not save me money. It costed me money, because I didn't know what I was doing, and I would forget to water them, or I didn't fertilize them, or I did a million things wrong. So I definitely didn't save any money on seed starting. But I can say that this year, I still have not saved any money on seed starting, but I have been able to start way more plants and way more varieties than I did last year. So I would say like this year is probably my break even point. And then next year, if I can save some seeds from this year, maybe that will be kind of like I'll start saving money next year. So that's just my circumstance. I don't know if that's everybody's experience with starting seeds, but I'm a little bit of a slow learner when I learn new things. So I I think it's really fun, and I'm so excited about the varieties, and I'm really happy that I learned how to do it, because it's a new skill that I have. But it wasn't just as easy as watching one YouTube video for me and then never having to buy a plant from the garden center again. So all of these plants are really pretty as well. I'm very tempted by this butterfly bush, but I already have one, so I don't need another one to take care of at the moment. And if I do, I'll compare prices at like our wholesale nursery around, in the area, and I'll see if I can maybe get it at a better price there. And then I don't need any more roses, although I love roses. Those can wait until another time. And I also want to make sure that I get the varieties that I want. And here is the clearance department. So I like the clearance department for things that I'm still learning how to grow. Even if these don't look the best, I like buying these so that I can learn from them. So I did have petunias on my list. So I found this big pot of petunias, and I thought maybe I could separate them and get more plants from them. And then that's my impulse purchases, are those like little sunflower bush. And then for trees, what I'm doing now that I have a couple trees in the yard is I'm just waiting until next season in like January or February, and I'm gonna buy them bare root, because they're way less expensive, and then I'm gonna do my best to research the variety. And I kind of want to fill the gaps of the trees that aren't fruiting all at the same time. I want to get to a point where I have different fruits during different seasons. And at this point, I do have a record, because I'm making videos of what is fruiting in which months. So I'm gonna wait to find a variety of fruit tree that I don't have that fills the gap of the fruit that I don't have in that month. So that's gonna take a little bit of time. So I'm no longer impulse buying the fruit trees. I have bought them in the past, but I think now I don't need to do that. I can kind of research. And I don't think there's anything wrong with impulse buying things if you're really excited about them and it gets you in the door to learn new things. And I'm not mad that I did it. I just learned that at this point, I think I can wait and do a little bit more research. And I do want some ground covers, but that's a whole other thing of it's kind of like a permanent decision. The ground covers are not just going to be there for a season. They're going to be there for it's a like a long-term thing. So I'm going to hold off on those. And we have more butterfly bushes over here, which is tempting, but I'm not going to do it. And then this pittosporum shrub, I want one of those, but I'm going to wait until I go to Briggs. And then more fruit trees, which I'm no longer tempted. I used to go to the garden center and just stare at these for a really long period of time and talk myself into it and then out of it, but I'm not doing that right now. And then these are vining plants, which I always need vining plants to cover the chain link fence. I want to eventually cover all of the chain link fence around our property because I just think it's really pretty when there's something growing on it a little bit wildly. But I don't need that right now, so I'm going to say no. And then these Japanese maples are so pretty, and I've always wanted one. But just one of these plants is $74, and I don't think that these do good in our area. So I think they're going to need to be babied a little bit. So I'm going to say no to those until I'm ready to care for them and research them. Beautiful ferns, which I'm going to say no to right now. Hydrangeas, I've already got hydrangeas. You don't need hydrangeas. And then these are the dahlias. And I had purchased dahlias from the garden center before, and this year I'm trying to grow them from tubers, and I will let you know how that goes if I think that it's worth it to buy those from tubers instead of from the plants at the store. I should know in the next couple months if that's something that I will continue to do or if I'll just go and buy a plant next time. So this is the soil that they have, and this is what I was buying. And I didn't have any problems with the soil here, but it does add up when you think of all the bags that you need to buy over and over again. And then of course the furniture department, but I'm just looking at them and I'm not going to pull the trigger, but I always look at the furniture when I'm there. And then I only spent $50, so I think that was good. And I mostly got the plants on my list, and then I got the impulse sunflower. So we got out of there, I think, in good shape.